Hello Bookish friends, welcome to October wrap-up part 2. In this video I'm going to talk about the 6 works that I finished and one work that I DNF'd in the second half of October. Like in my previous videos this year, I will insert the clips that I recorded after I finished those works. Today is the 15th of October and I finished Summer Switch by Rodgers. This was the last book in the trilogy of Andrew's Family. I picked up Andrew's Family series in my October TBR video. This book is very similar to the first book in the series, Freaky Friday, in which mother and daughter change their bodies for a limited period of time of one day, whereas in this book the son Ben and the father William Bill changes for a much longer period of time, like 3 weeks. It happens when both the father and the son wish that they could be in each other's places at the same time. This book has both fathers and the son's point of view with equal focus. I really did like the premise of the first book, and I was quite excited that this book would have a similar premise. But I was really disappointed by this book, actually. There could be 2 reasons for this. It could be that it lacked the originality of the first book and it felt like a repetitive narrative. But I think my main problem was the inclusion of the grown-up as a child. I think as an adult it was a bit frustrating to read about the things that the father has to go through in a summer camp as a very small child. I have to admit I even skim-read 1 or 2 pages which were all related to camp sports and everything else, which did not feel funny to me at all. The point of view of the son, Ben, was much more interesting to read about for me. Unfortunately, I really liked the ending of the book, how it was sold out. In summary, I gave Summer Switch by Rodgers a 6 out of 10, and I'm pleased to announce that I finished another series. Today is the 18th of October and I finished another book that I'm reading for victober, The Legacy of Cain by Wilkie Collins. I actually chose this book in a try a chapter video among 2 other books. In the beginning of this book, a woman condemned for death because of a murder begs the minister to adopt her daughter to raise as his own. Although the minister initially did not have a child with his wife, they are then blessed with another daughter. And after a significant time jump, we follow the lives of 2 sisters living with their father, and the minister, as their father, refuses to tell which daughter is elder, and the mystery in this book is to find out which sister is the adopted daughter of a murderess and which one is the blood daughter of a minister. Meanwhile, we also follow a family drama in the true Victorian fashion, and 2 sisters fall in love with the same man. And we follow all of these adventures from different points of view. In the first half of the book, I really liked that the mystery of which sister is the adopted daughter really kept me going, and I really wanted to read to find out and to discover some hints about this. It was interesting that 2 sisters were complete opposite of each other. One was very sweet and angelic, whereas the other one was cunning but also very beautiful. About the health point of the book, we solve this mystery, and then the book becomes more and more like a family drama, even melodrama at some parts. Even though I really did like Wilkie Collins's writing and had no trouble understanding what was happening, and I really admired how strong female characters he created. The main plot of the love triangle did not seem to me as horrific as the book suggested to be. Towards the end, it got interesting again. Overall, I thought it was a very decent book, and the mystery in the first half was excellent, and it raised a lot of questions about if genetics or the upbringing does affect a person's behavior. But because of its mediocre plot point of the love triangle, I gave The Legacy of Cain by Wilkie Collins 7 out of 10. Today is the 19th of October, and I DNF'd a short story collection today. Ayiti by Roxanne Gay. I put Ayiti because of a booktuber recommendation from Marissa at Blatantly Bookish. She mentioned in her video that it was a short story collection about the Haitian experience, as well as being an immigrant in the United States. However, I did not expect that the short stories would be extremely short. I think I read 20 pages before I DNF'd the short story collection. I actually read 5 short stories in 20 pages. That was how short the stories were. They were more like a collection of essays, fiction essays. I have to say that I found the writing style of Roxanne Gay to be a bit simple, at least in this short story collection, because I was expecting something much more different from this book. I decided to DNF it and move on to the numerous books that are waiting for me in my TBR. Today is the 23rd of October, and although I have a sore throat and my voice is a bit deeper than usual, I really wanted to talk about the book that I finished today, Helter, Skelter by Vincent, Bugliosi and Curt Gentry. This is a true crime non-fiction book which chronicles the event right after the murder of Sharon Tate and 4 other people, the subsequent police investigations, the arrest of the members of the Charlie Manson's family, the preparation of the case for the prosecution, and especially in the last half, all the aspects of the criminal trial. The book is told from the point of view of Vincent Bugliosi, who was the lead prosecutor in this case. Bugliosi also gives his thoughts and opinions about the process of police investigation before he joins the legal team. I think this is my second favorite non-fiction book after Unbroken by Lauren Hillenbrand. I loved reading this book, and even though I was scheduled to read it for 2 months, I actually read it through the course of 25 days. I just wanted to keep on reading because the book was very, very engaging. And although the events are very, very interesting, sometimes even mind-blowing, I thought the most impressive thing about this book was the way it was told. I loved the narrative style of this book. It gives all the details without being boring. The connections between a trial scene and the previous scene was done excellent. So it was very, very easy to understand the whole process through the eyes of the prosecutor. But the main praise, I think, should go to Curt Gentry for this wonderful narrative. And in my edition, there was an afterword section which talks about what happened the following 25 years, which was written by Bugliosi. Although it was interesting, the narrative was not as good as the original book. So it confirmed my belief that this narrative was the work of Curt Gentry, but Vincent Bugliosi point of view added so much to the book. With him, I felt frustrated, disgusted, angry, and sometimes very, very sad. It was easy to identify with him all the time. And I thought he was a very brave person, as well as being empathic. Sometimes, although not frequently, he made us see the point of view of the defense lawyers as well. But I have to give a content warning for very violent descriptions of the murders committed, as well as the very sick minds of the members of the Charles Manson family. My personal belief is that Charlie Manson was a very clever man, although he was deranged, even though I felt disgusted with him almost all of the time. It was very interesting how his mind worked, and sometimes tried to twist the case according to his benefit. Fortunately, he did not succeed. Like I said in the beginning of the clip, this was one of the best non-fiction books that I have read, and believe me, it doesn't feel so long when you read it. I would advise this book to all mystery and true crime readers, as well as fans of the TV show Law and Order. In summary, I gave Helter, Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi and Curt Gentry a 9 out of 10. And this book is likely to be one of my favorites of the year. Today is the 26th of October, and I finished The Family Remains by Jewell. This was the sequel book of The Family Upstairs, which I read last year, and I gave that book 7 out of 10. And when I saw that book on my audiobook application, I decided to give it a chance and finish the duology. This book starts about a year after the last book is finished. Our characters, Lucy, Libby, and Henry, do follow their lives after the big revelation in the first book. I cannot say much about this book without revealing spoilers for the first book. But I can say that there are 2 murder mysteries that we are trying to solve while we are following 2 timelines and 5 different points of view, one including the detective investigating the main murder mystery, which happened in the first book. Well, I thought this book was better than the first book. It could be because I listened to a full cast narration of the audiobook. There were 5 narrators who voiced 5 very distinctively different characters. The main murder mystery in this book is actually not a mystery if you read the first book. But because we feel so much for the remaining family, the family remains from the first book, we want to find out how the investigation will go. We also find out more about the characters' past. So I think Jewell did a really good job of investing us in the characters. So overall, I gave The Family Remains by Jewell a higher rating than the first book, which is 8 out of 10. And I finished another series that I'm in the middle of, although it was a duology. So I'm very happy to achieve this goal as well. Today is the 29th of October, and I finished the audiobook that I was listening for 2 weeks. Leopar, the Leopard by Jo Nesbo. I listened to the Turkish version of this Norwegian novel, And we have been reading the Harry Hole series by Jo Nesbo with Naomi at Naomi's Bookshop and Nikki at Red Dot Reads, and we are enjoying this body reading experience very much. In this book, we follow the events of the previous books, and Harry is first in Hong Kong, and like every addict, he's struggling with addiction again. But when a serial killer who kills a woman appears in Norway after the occurrence of the snowman, the police department decides to call back Harry, and because his father is also gravely ill, Harry decides to come back to Norway, and he tries to uncover the mystery of this very sinister killer with the help of a new partner, Kaya. And he also becomes caught in the internal power struggles between the police department and the special force called Crypto. This book was also another very engaging and very exciting thriller book. And I think this was the most action-packed one that we have read. And Harry has always been in the middle of the action. Like in the previous books, some scenes were very brutal, and it was sometimes very hard to listen to an audiobook of this of these events. On the other hand, I think the audiobook narrator Murat Eken did a fantastic job, and he acted all the parts. I could clearly distinctify all the characters because he acted out them so well, and I thought it was one of the best experiences that I've had listening to an audiobook in Turkish. The mystery was very cleverly constructed again, and also, the killer was among the top 2 ruthless ones in this series, and I really did like how the events and the characters from the previous books appeared again to help Harry solve the case. And there was a big twist which fooled both Harry and me. And I thought it was a genius move on Jo Nesbo's part. On the other hand, although I really wanted to find out what would happen, I have to say I did not feel as emotionally as invested as the previous 2 books that I've read from the series. So in summary, I gave Leopar, the Leopard by Jo Nesbo, an 8 out of 10. Today is the 30th of October, and I finished a poetry collection that I read for victober. Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This was a collection of love poems written by the poet to her future husband, Robert Browning, who had affectionately nicknamed her as his little Portuguese. Hence the title, Sonnets from the Portuguese. Not being a fan of poetry, I might have read this poetry collection a bit faster than I should have read. On the other hand, I really enjoyed some of the sonnets and how passionate and romantic it was. And of course there were some flowery verses. On the other hand, I felt the sincerity of the emotion. There was clearly a passionate love between husband and wife. There was a very beautiful sonnet, very familiar, which I did not know was included in this collection. How do I love thee, let me count the ways. Overall, I thought it was a very delightful experience to read this collection, which was considerably shorter than most of them. So I thought it was a good step into reading maybe more poetry in the future. I want to thank Rose for encouraging me to at least try a poem
It was really a pleasant experience. To sum it up, I gave Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning a 7 out of 10. This was what I thought of 6 works that I finished and 1 work that I DNF'd in the second half of October. Please comment down below, have you read any of the works that I mentioned in this video? And what did you think of them? And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye! As for Turkish word of the day, since I read 2 books about serial killers in this wrap-up, I'm going to choose serial killer as words of the day. Serial killer means seri katil in Turkish, and seri katil are our Turkish words of the day. Have a good day!